Hello all, Jonathan Raspberry here for the third video in the series Our Games. And this game was sent to me by request from a guy on chess.com. And so I wanted to show you this game because I thought it was pretty interesting. And what we can learn from this here is how to attack the queenside. Alright, so this is what we're going to be going over today, how to attack when your opponent gives you a good opportunity to attack, and we're focusing on the queen side of the board here. So alright. The game started off d4, by the way. White is a 1700 and black is about a 1550. d5, c4, d takes c4. Now this is the queen's gambit accepted. It's not as popular as the queen's gambit declined. Now some people don't really like playing this c4 line here because they're afraid once they take and they play something like knight c3, then black's going to play something like b5, c6, a6, lock down the c4 pawn and be up a solid pawn. Well, that's not really true. First off, if you're paranoid about going down a pawn after d takes c4, you have the option of playing queen to a4 and just getting the pawn right back because of the fork. However, this is not the most popular move because you're moving the queen twice in the opening, which is not a very good plan, generally speaking, unless you're in the Scandinavian, which that has been worked out. So in this case, queen a4 is not the most popular move. White played knight f3, which is knight f3, knight f6. I'm not going to go into the theory with b5 and trying to hold this pawn with like maybe bishop b6. That discussion is going to be for another day. Whenever I go over openings, but here it has been proven that white has either plenty of compensation for the pawn, more than enough, or he's just getting the pawn back, and in most cases he's just getting the pawn back. In fact, it could be all cases. I'm not sure about that. So knight f6, knight c3. Knight c3 is not the most popular move. E3 or e4, well, not e4 in this case, e3. Because you don't want that pawn to sit there for too long on c4, because eventually black can play a couple of like preparatory moves like c6 and a6 and then throw out b5, and all of a sudden that pawn is a rock. So be careful with leaving that pawn there too long, especially if black plays c6, which will help defend b5 at a later point. So after knight c3, black decided to go with bishop to g4, which has not really been played before, at least in the databases. I'm sure it's been played a time or two before, but it doesn't really do that much. The bishop's not very well placed over here most of the times, especially now that this d pawn is gone. You probably want to play b6 and play for some long diagonal compensation here for this bishop. With the bishop on he's on the c8 h3, but also on the d1 h4. He's pinning this knight eventually. Maybe if white doesn't decide to play knight e5, he may be pinning the knight, which is a good thing. The problem is the bishop has very few squares to which it can go to. It's not very good for the attack. It's more of a defensive piece. So a lot of players, they don't really like just putting their bishops in defensive positions. That's not as good as putting in an attacking position anyway. So people who prefer attacking positions and people who just try to play the normal standard, dare I say, the better moves, would try to put this bishop over here on the long diagonal. However, bishop g4 is not in itself a horrible move. Bishop g4, e3 was played. Knight e5 is probably playable here. In fact, it's probably good. Point with knight e5 is you're attacking this bishop, you're attacking the c4 pawn. You're preparing to play e4 maybe unless bishop h5. Bishop f5, you might go f3 e4. You're also attacking this pawn if you want to take it immediately, unless he plays bishop e6. So you've got a little bit of dynamic play here with this knight on e5. However, e3 is okay. It's nothing bad. The only problem really with e3 is that it locks in this bishop over here on c1, and this guy may want to someday travel to f4 or g5. In this case, the long diagonal is there, especially after you take this pawn. However, this d4 pawn in the middle of the board blocks this bishop, and will stay there blocking it for quite a while, unless black plays c5 and then white decides to take, and which may not necessarily be the best move for white. Keeping this pawn in the center is good. It helps attack e5, c5, d5 may eventually come, but that wouldn't be until way later. So if he wants to keep this pawn on d4, the bishop on b2 is not going to be the world's greatest piece. So maybe consider knight e5 and then decide if you want to play bishop g5 immediately or not. But you know, e3 is okay. So e6 was played, just deciding to give back the pawn, which probably should have at least considered defending it, maybe. But I don't really see a good way with this bishop g4 setup here. There's almost no way to defend it in this position, so he has to give it back up. Bishop takes c4. Now white's got a good position. Black's not that bad though. A little passive. Bishop b4. Okay, so not a very good move for some tactical reasons, but also for some strategic reasons. Tactically speaking, queen a4 check is very good. After knight c6, knight e5, you're attacking the knight, which, by the way, is defending the bishop. And after queen d6, let's say f3 here, taking this knight immediately, you're not winning this bishop over here, because you can either take back with the pawn or take this knight. So f3, just attack this bishop. I'll say bishop f5, a3, bishop takes c3, he takes c3. The knight's still pinned. Eventually, let's say castles kingside here. Knight takes c6, b takes c6, and castles. And this dude looks a little weak. As soon as you play e4, which is going to be basically immediately, this guy's going to become alive. You've got an incredibly strong center. This guy's got a very weak center. He's eventually going to play c5. He'll get rid of one of those pawns, but this one c pawn is going to stay weak for a while. So tactically speaking, back here with this knight e5 line, black is forced to play queen to d6, and then he's gonna run into some very serious positional issues because of this knight pin and the doubled c pawns. But from a more strategic point of view, bishop b4 is attacking nothing. Once you take back the pawn, in fact, that's what happened. White castled. Accidentally skipped that move. After bishop b4 castles, bishop takes c3, which if you're going to come to b4 and the guy's going to castle, there's no reason to go to b4 unless you're planning on taking that knight over there. So after you take, either that or you lose 2 tempos. After you take, and b takes c3, white has simply got a stronger center. He's got 3 central pawns. Black's got a weaker queenside. The b pawn is interesting, especially after a4, a5 comes. You've got a bishop coming to a3 very, very soon. And then you've also got central play if you want it with e4, e5 to go after the castle king. However, black does not decide to go castling. He plays knight c6, which is, well, the computers say it's an okay move, giving white about a pawn advantage in this position. I don't necessarily agree with it, because unless I'm missing something tactically, then you're going to want to castle. Get out of that way. And in fact, let me just look at it right now. Yeah, it's saying it's also a fine move, just about as good as knight c6. But from just a practical standpoint, you don't want your king to stay in the center of the board or go queenside, which is actually eventually what it did. So After knight c6, white jumped all over black with bishop a3, saying, no sir, you ain't going kingside, forcing black to show his hand, queen d7. And then bishop e2 was played here. You can actually force, h3, force black to give some pretty serious positional advantages to white in one of two ways. One is bishop takes f3, queen takes f3, with the simple fact that you have two bishops in an open game against two knights. And then secondly, if h3 he decides not to give it, he goes bishop f5, then it's actually very, very, very bad for him, because you're going to play bishop e5. Now it's double pinned, so moving the queen doesn't unpin this knight because of the king. So let's just say he moves the king, castles queenside. Then you've got the knight chopping into e5. And I think this is pretty obvious as to why black's just completely lost. You've got pressure on f7, you've got pressure on c6, you've got pressure on as soon as black moves, basically queen e8 is best option, I would say, if you don't want to lose serious material, but apparently not. Bishop takes c6, any human being would take back, and then after queen a4, yeah, this is completely over with. Queen a6 is coming, queen a7, queen c6, let's say rook d6, you're going to lose the rook. Queen a6 was, or queen a7 to a8 was threatened, so let's just say rook to d8. Queen takes a7, don't worry about that rook right now, and computer's already announcing mate in 9. So with going back to here, h3 can force black into some serious problems. And the way you would recognize something like this is to say, alright, if I play h3, what is it going to do? Bishop h5 is also quite possible, but the computer is just advocating to play g4 and then go into that line again with bishop to b5, pinning the knight. So when you see that and you go, okay, alright, so if he takes, I have the two bishops. If he goes to f5, I have the pen followed by knight e5, which is a little bit of tactical vision. You need to see, hey, if that knight could come to e5, that would be very strong. Let's play bishop. Let's unpin my knight. Let's bring the bishop here, and then let's bring that knight there. That's some tactical vision. And then of course you say bishop h5, let's play g4, force him to either sacrifice or go back into that line. That's where you find h3. Actually, you probably find h3 through saying here bishop b5, and then you want to play knight e5, and this guy's in the way. So h3 is the move to go with here, but bishop e2, a little passive. Just afraid of the pin. Castles queenside. It is just a typical move of someone like a non-master type player, just afraid of a pin that is not really that dangerous at all. Rook b1, about time. Before bishop c4, rook b1 would have also been very good, just forcing the king to castle into a little bit of awkwardness, castling into a rook on an open file position, not fun. So knight to d5. Queen to d3, threatening queen a6, believe it or not. Knight b6, knight d2. Now we're going to come back to this position right here with the knight on f3, the bishop on e2. We're going to come back to this position at the end. I do want to show the end of the game, though. The end of the game ends very, very quickly. Black just makes a couple of very horrible decisions, but immediately white makes a slight mistake with knight to d2. In fact, a very serious mistake. So when I said that we're going to discuss how to attack on the queen side, this is the position that we're going to analyze. But let me show you the end of this game real quick with knight d2, bishop takes e2, getting rid of an attacker, which is very good for black. That's why white should not have played knight d2, getting rid of getting rid of one of his attackers for one of black's useless pieces. Black's piece over here may be threatening to go to f5, but e4 is coming. So knight d2, bishop takes, queen d5, taking some central space, rook b3, queen a5, maybe rook b5 in this situation would have been okay. Rook b3 is fine though. Rook b3 is blocking the a2 pawn, which I guess is why rook b5 is not a very good move. Queen to a5 was played. Knight to c5. Knight to c4, sorry. Again, not the move of choice. You're trading off attackers. And you don't want to do that. You want to play knight to, or you want to not allow knight takes. You want to play something like, in this case, c4. We'll discuss this later, but c4 and don't give black the chance to trade off some of your attackers. But anyway, takes, and here for some reason just black goes off the deep end, plays rook to d6. I have no idea why. And then after bishop d6, cd6, rook fb1, the game is already over with because the knight is being threatened right now due to some tactics, as you'll soon see. The b7 pawn is dying. Queen a6 was about his only legitimate shot. Anyway, queen takes a2, and then queen takes c6, a little tactics to end the game, with rook 1 to b7 mate. So, going back to this case, with the knight d2 move here, let's look at what white should have done and how to correctly win this game. So, start with c4. The idea is you're taking central space, you're threatening c5. In fact, if black just plays a completely nothing move like h5, starting his own attack, completely oblivious to what's going on, c5, knight d5, queen a6. Queen a6 is coming down, and as you can tell, there's no way to defend b7. B7 is pinned. Knight b6, it actually lands just c takes b6. I don't have this down, but I'll show you here. Knight b6, a cool line as well, just c takes b6, b takes a6, and then b takes a7. If your knight takes a7, you can't take that because of checkmate, mate. And if you don't take it, queen is coming on the board. So some cool tactics there, but of course b takes a6 simply loses to bishop to a6 mate. So you've got some tactics flying there. You've got some threats with c4, trying to kick that knight out of b6, which is, by the way, is just where it went. This is one way that you can find something like c4. You say, okay, he just went to b6. We know we're gonna get queen a6 in. Let's play c4 and kick that knight out of there. Rook d to e8 is another possibility. Probably the best possibility. And here rook f to c1. If black continues to ignore what white is doing and plays e5, try for some central counterplay, which there is a principle that says when you're being attacked on the side, counterattack in the center. It's logical. However, after knight takes e5, d takes e5, say bishop takes e2, queen takes e2, rook takes e5, which by the way is a mistake, lands c5 and c6. Point is the queen is getting in the a6 square no matter what. Either that or you're going to lose your b7 pawn. So in this case you actually can't really take back the pawn, and you're just going to be completely worse. You've got two rooks barreling down on you over here. Rook on an open file, rook on a soon to be open file. Got a bishop slicing through the game, the e7 square if the rook wants to double the d6 square. If that pawn ever goes to c6, that bishop will be a monster on d6. Then you got a queen who's poised to go to a6, to go to b2. So you've got a lot of dynamics here in the attack. So really black's best shot is to get rid of the knight. And then after bishop takes, you're still very, very much better. Knight e5, little tactic based on the fact that d pawn can't take e5. Queen e4 threatening mate, forcing knight takes, queen takes. Something like e5, c5, knight d5. And something, you know, I'm going through these lines. Did you spot the mistake? These are all natural moves that black is playing, but he's going from okay to completely worse. After knight takes, that's an okay move. Queen takes, okay move. e5, not a good move again. How do I stop c5? You can't. Don't worry about it. Here you're down 2 pawns. Here you're now down like 4 pawns. e5, just a completely natural move, trying to open things up. And here comes c5, e4, queen b3 threatening mate, c6, and something like rook c4, threatening to come into b7 as well. So, what can we get from this? Very simple. The first is do not trade off your attacking pieces for your opponent's non-defensive pieces. If you have a bishop that wants to attack, say white's kingside, and white uses his queenside knight to start attacking some weaknesses in black's queenside or something, and you know you have your queenside under control. You don't let your bishop get taken. You either avoid it, you take that knight with another knight that isn't attacking. You do whatever you can to keep your attacking pieces, because if you get rid of your piece, it's going back to sorry, I went too far here. Going back to this line right here with knight to d2. You're attacking. You're getting rid of one of your attacking pieces. This bishop over here wants to help back up the queen. This bishop is doing nothing. Okay, so don't get rid of your attacking pieces. Which was also knight c4. Now knight c4 is trading a defending piece for an attacking piece. That's okay, but you don't really want to do this at the beginning of your attack, trading defensive for attacking pieces. What you want to do is you want to try to prepare your attack as much as possible before you do this. That way, when you start trading pieces, you can come in with firepower very quickly behind it. And when you do that, the fact that you have less pieces isn't going to matter, is that because you have you already have this, like all your pieces that you have, like the 2 rooks, the bishop, and the queen in this case, already over there. So I would have suggested at least rook b1 before knight c4. And when you do that and then you trade, you've got firepower immediately, and black has less time to defend. Whereas here, this case, he's just going to take back. He's got time to defend now. You make your attacking move, then he can defend again. So he's got at least 2 defensive moves. So don't trade attacking piece for defending piece until you're ready to launch your attack fully. And then finally as well, something that I didn't really mention before but kind of showed it to you when I played c4. After knight b6, white played knight d2, I said c4. Here you're trying to open lines for the king, or against the king, sorry. You want to play c5, maybe eventually c6 as you saw it. And of course this also displaces a defender, but taking space and opening lines is the key to a good attack. In fact, I know in the Sicilian, when black attacks on the queen side, white on the king side, black on the king side, white on, yeah, I said that right, black on the queen side attacking the castle king on the queen side for white, and black attacking on the king side, or white attacking on the king side. There's a saying in this there, I think it originated from the Sicilian, that says whoever opens the line first will win. The first person with an open line wins, stuff like that. And basically the point is, open lines are extremely important in winning. So not playing c4 is another mistake. So that's what you can get learning how to castle, how to attack a castled king side, or queen side in this case, opposite side castling. I named this the how to attack queen side. But of course, this would also work if your king is on the queen side and your opponent's on the king side. It's really more better entitled something like opposite side castling, how to attack. So I hope you learned something from this game. I definitely did. And thank you to the guy who sent this. I enjoyed it. And then if y'all guys have any other videos you want me to look at for you, again, send me the link and I'll be happy to look at them. So thank you and have a good night.